Hello! Welcome to lesson number 9 in a course of 12 lessons, focused on principles and tools that can help us improve throughput for a better company, happier employees, and more satisfied customers. Before we continue, if you are not certified on the previous lessons, please do so before continuing into this lesson, as they are better understood when observed in sequential order. Okay, so we've covered all of the 8 wastes of lean and several tools that can help reduce these wastes. Now let's jump into how we can make these things stick. How can we build a lean culture? It's one thing to learn a bunch of stuff, and a whole other matter to apply what you have learned and make a part of everyday life. If I were to give you one word that plays the biggest role in all of this, it would be this one: habits. Habits are at the essence of every culture and will play a key role in establishing a lean one. Application to what we've been learning about will require a lot of intentional action, breaking old habits, and establishing new ones that reinforce application. It's all about cultivating the soil where continuous improvement can continue to grow and then sustain the growth that happens. If we don't create good habits that continue to drive a reduction in waste, it's just a matter of time before we backslide into a culture where we live with what bugs us and spend our time putting out fires instead of preventing them. We'll have to work harder and spend our days trying to survive, not thrive. Brian Tracy sums up the nature of habits pretty well in this statement. Bad habits are easy to form, but hard to live with, whereas good habits are harder to form, but easier to live with. Habits play a huge role in establishing a solid foundation of lean and everything we do in life. As Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. What we come to realize, then, is that our life today is essentially the sum of all of our habits. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, puts it this way: "We are the sum of our actions, and therefore our habits make all the difference," emphasizing that small, daily routines dictate who we become and the results we achieve, shaping our character and destiny over time. Creating new habits are not easy, as they often go against the grain of old ones that appeal to the natural desire in all of us to be lazy and feel comfortable in the moment. The good news is that when we can press through and turn meaningful activities into habits, they become automated and effortless. Like a rocket, we break past that level of resistance, where a lot of energy and intention is required, into a space of incredible opportunity, where flying above our previous challenges becomes much easier, and where the stars are the limit to our potential growth. Lean is not a project. It's not a checklist. It's a culture, a way of thinking, and culture is built on habits. James Clear says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." In lean, that system is daily improvement. To establish a lean culture, we need to create identity-based habits. People act in alignment with who they believe they are. In lean, we want employees to say, "I am a problem solver," not just, "I follow instructions." When people work at Quality Craft, they need to know and constantly be reminded that we don't just build cabinets, we improve everything. And improvement is just as expected and a part of your job as is completing a production process. Here are some great habits that, if developed, will help establish a lean culture. Keep in mind that the more frequently we repeat an action, the more quickly and solidified a habit becomes. Morning meetings. Start every day with a short meeting where issues are put on the table, improvements are shared, TOS principles are strengthened, and metrics that reflect these principles are reviewed. Improvement boards or sharing opportunities. Post ideas and completed improvements visually, representing before and after. This makes progress obvious. This creates a reward loop and inspires others to come up with improvements of their own. Make a way to capture issues as they arise. Even if you can't implement the solution right away, this gives everyone a voice and prevents issues from slipping away, resulting in prolonged, wasteful activity. Each department should have an issues board, or some means of capturing issues in the moment. Implement issue resolution systems. Budget time or meetings to address non-urgent issues that don't have a today solution, such as traction meetings and tiger meetings, which will be discussed in more detail in a future lesson. Shift our language. Encourage phrases like, "Here is a great opportunity for improvement," or "Let's make every day better than yesterday." Not, "How did we make that mistake again?" And, "Fix what bugs you." Not, "That's just the way it is." Or, "Small improvements, big impact." Not, "If I don't see a difference now, I may as well give up." Or, measure twice, cut once. How about, slow is smooth and smooth is fast? And this one, you improve what you measure. Using empowering improvement mindset language can really have an impact on the environment we live in. Recognize improvements and successes. Sharing what we did right in our meetings is just as important and perhaps more motivational for driving continuous improvement than pointing out what we did wrong. Recognition adds positive energy to the environment, reinforces identity, and promotes more of the activity that is making a positive impact. Daily 3S by everyone. The less people participate, the less will be the effect on establishing a lean, continuous improvement culture. And daily 2-second improvements. It's not about how big they are, it's about consistency and repetition. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this daily 3S thing, as well as daily improvements, as they are considered two of the top 3 pillars of establishing a lean culture. First of all, 3S is a simplified version of 5S and is meant to be a leaner way of approaching 5S. Okay, so what do these 3 S's stand for? The first S stands for sort, meaning to organize tools, materials, and items so that only what you need is kept in the workspace. Remove unnecessary items. Examples of implementation are using shadow boards for tools so each tool has a designated spot, removing duplicate or unused tools from drawers, color-coding bins for different parts or materials, keeping only essential items at your workstation and storing others elsewhere. The second S is for sweep or shine, which means to clean your work area and equipment so everything is in good working condition. This is not just about cleanliness, it's about inspecting and maintaining what you have. Clear says, make good habits obvious and bad habits invisible. Lean thrives on this principle. A messy workspace hides waste. A clean, organized one makes waste visible. And the third S? Standardize, meaning to create consistent processes and visual controls so everyone knows where things belong and how tasks should be done. This is the wedge that helps to keep the improvements you make in place so they don't atrophy. Here's a few examples of how we can standardize. Labeling shelves and drawers clearly. Using floor tape to mark areas for equipment or inventory. Creating checklists for daily cleaning and organizing tasks. Posting visual guides for tool placement or machine setup, such as shadow boards. Here's an example of what a good 3S routine looks like. And now, a little more on this daily 2-second improvement idea and why it's considered in the book, 2-Second Lean by Paul Akers as one of the 3 main pillars of creating a lean culture. Well, understanding a couple principles will help us understand why this concept is so important. The first one is the aggregation of marginal gains, and the second one is the compound effect, which work hand in hand. The aggregation of marginal gains, or what is often referred to as the 1% rule, is a principle that emphasizes that small, consistent improvements compound into remarkable results over time. Rather than dramatic overnight transformations, focus on getting 1% better each day. A 1% daily improvement leads to being 37 times better after a year due to compound growth. This approach makes habit formation feel manageable and sustainable. Just imagine if every department in the shop got 37 times better every year. Well, this is possible if we were able to improve each process by just 1% a day. Sound too hard? Even if we improved by 1% in each process per week and made it habitual, each department would double their performance by the end of the year. Imagine our shop going from producing 150 boxes a day to 300 per day without adding new employees or equipment. That's the potential of 1% improvements. Don't believe it? Let's check out the story behind the British cycling team and what happened to them when they applied this principle.
The story is about Team Sky, which is Great Britain's professional cycling team. Sometime in the mid-2000s, around 2010, they hired a man named Dave Brailsford. And at the time, Team Sky had a very middle-of-the-road record when it came to performance on the world stage. They had won about 1 gold medal in the last 100 years, from 1908 to 2008. They had never won a Tour de France, the premier event in cycling, And when they hired Dave Brailsford, they said, we would like to change this. We'd like to improve our performance. We'd like to reach a higher level of performance. What's your plan to help us do that? And when they hired Brailsford, he said, I have this strategy called the aggregation of marginal gains. And the way that he described it was the 1% improvement in nearly everything that you do. And so they started by looking at a lot of things you would expect a cycling team to look at. They improved their bike tires and made them slightly lighter. They put a more ergonomic seat on the bike. They had their riders wear biofeedback sensors so they could see how each person responded to the training and practice that they did each day. They had their outdoor riders wear indoor racing suits because they were lighter and more aerodynamic. But then they did a variety of things that you wouldn't expect a cycling team to do. They split tested different types of massage gels to see which one led to the best form of recovery. They taught their riders how to wash their hands to reduce the risk of infection and keep them healthy. They even figured out what kind of pillow led to the best night's sleep for each rider and then brought that on the road with them to hotels. So Brailsford said, if we can actually execute on this strategy, if we can aggregate all these small changes, these little 1% improvements, then I think we can win the Tour de France in about 5 years. He ended up being wrong. They won the Tour de France in 3 years, and then they repeated again the 4th year with a different rider. And then just last year, they won for the 3rd time in 4 years. And Brailsford's strategy really came to fruition at the Olympics in London in 2012, when they won 70% of the gold medals available. And so what I'd like to start us off with is the idea that small improvements actually can add up to a very significant change in a relatively short period of time. And this is just basic math, all right? If you get 1% better each day over 365 days, you end up 37 times better at the end of the year. If you get 1% worse, you take yourself almost all the way down to zero. Now, you might say, okay, well, 1% improvements are nice, but clearly no one is going to get 1% better every single day. So is that ever enough to accumulate to anything, considering that we're not going to be perfect all the time? And I would argue, yes. In fact, you can get 10 times better if you get 1% better 5 days a week, 46 weeks a year, so it's about 230 days in total. That gives you 6 weeks off for holidays, illness, laziness, and just generally not getting things done. But you're still 10 times better at the end of the year. And what I would like to propose is that the way to do this is not by setting better goals for ourselves or at our organizations, but by building better systems and obtaining better habits. In fact, you could say that the goal had never changed. They wanted to win a Tour de France each year. They wanted to win Olympic gold medals. It wasn't the goal that made the difference. Instead, it was their system, the way that they applied those improvements in a 1% basis day after day.
So, the compound effect goes hand in hand with the aggregation of marginal gains. It emphasizes 3 points: repetition, consistency, and time. This works for or against us. Whatever we do consistently over time is what we'll reap. Small, smart choices, repeated consistently, create radical results over time. 2 seconds saved today might seem trivial, but multiply that across hundreds of tasks and employees, and you have thousands of hours reclaimed. Here's an example calculation. Say we make a small improvement to move a tool closer, which saves us 5 seconds per use. Now suppose we use this tool 100 times per day. We have 250 workdays in a year, so that would equate to 40 hours saved per person. Now say there were 50 employees completing this same task each day. The end result of moving that tool closer and saving just 5 seconds would equate to 2,000 hours saved each year from that one improvement. Now imagine if we create tons of those improvements every week. You very quickly start adding up to massive cost reductions and boosted efficiencies. But keep this in mind. As we discussed in an earlier lesson when we talked about standard operating guidelines, when we make an improvement, we need to establish a wedge so that it sticks. It's important that we take steps to standardize the improvement in some way so that we don't backslide into doing that process the old way, or we may lose the potential gains. It can be as simple as adding a label somewhere to specify the new home of a tool, or updating a previous SOG and getting everyone trained on the updated step, while assuring that new hires are trained to follow the improvement step as well. Now, of course, if we combine this with what we've been learning, we know that if we apply improvements to constraints, we will see the quickest results in performance. But there is a lot of value in breaking down our goal to create a continuous improvement lean culture into small, bite-sized requirements, so small that they require such low levels of motivational energy that there is almost no excuse not to do it. Running a marathon sounds hard and tiresome, and many would avoid making such a commitment because it requires so much effort. But it all starts with putting on your running shoes every morning so you can practice. Many more people can commit to putting on their running shoes every morning and stepping outside. That's it. That's all they need to commit to. Sounds easy enough, right? I mean, who can't do that? But running the marathon, that sounds hard. If we set a goal to just put on the running shoes and step outside every day, more people are likely to get in the practice and succeed at running a marathon than expecting everyone to commit and achieve the goal to run 5 miles a day. Why? Because momentum comes from starting something. You'll never finish any race if you don't take that first step, and every race is won one step at a time. And that's what 2-second improvements are all about. One small step at a time can put you miles ahead. Once you get in the habit of taking those small steps, as is the nature of habits, they will start to become automated and require next to no effort. This will leave a surplus in effort to put toward taking bigger steps. You know? Taking more effort to make bigger changes that reduce more waste, or that focus specifically on a constraint. You'll have more time and effort to put into making systematic changes that make a big difference. The result? Even more time and energy. It's like a snowball, where the waste is snow, and the ball moving forward is continuous improvement in action. Every rotation creates more potential to pick up more snow the next time around. It's just like the graph that illustrates the compounding effect. Like a rocket entering space. It takes a lot of energy to get it to lift off. In fact, 80 to 90% of the energy spent to complete a rocket mission is expended during the liftoff phase. But once it enters orbit, its action becomes almost effortless, while covering far more ground. This is the potential of small, consistent improvements over time. They may not seem to make a big difference at first, but if we stick with it and put in the energy up front, sometimes taking years, when we enter orbit, that is, make continuous improvement a part of our culture and make it habitual, we'll see things we never thought were possible, from this higher altitude, so to speak. Okay, so in closing, remember these tips to create habits that cultivate the soil where a culture of continuous improvement and lean can thrive. Number 1. Use cues to create routines, and celebrate the success of these routines to establish a reward cycle for long-term motivation. And follow the 2-minute rule. Low effort improves chances of action. For example, if you are trying to get stronger, you can use an already established habit, like going to the bathroom, to cue you into the action of a simple commitment like doing 1 push-up. While you're down in the push-up position, you may as well do a couple more, right? Maybe even 30 or 50 more? But the rest are totally voluntary. All you have to do is 1. The key point is that habits form through triggers and reinforcement. In Lean, the cue can be something like the morning meeting or clocking in. This cue can trigger the routine of daily 3S and/or improvement time. Number 2. Stay consistent. The keys to experiencing the compound effect is consistency and time. Most people give up during the beginning because change is not drastic or obvious. Press on even if positive change is slow at first. Continuous improvement does require a little faith, but there is plenty of evidence out there to believe it works. Number 3. Celebrate continuous improvement habits. Share metrics and pictures, etc. that prove the impact that improvements are having. Number 4. Fix what bugs you. This can be one of the greatest cues to action that you will ever have. If something bugs you, it's usually because you are struggling with something. And struggle is caused by the 8 wastes. If you find something at work that bugs you, you have just detected waste in the system. At least, capture this issue so further action can be taken to detect the waste and eliminate it, so that process can be done smarter, not harder. Lean is not about perfection, it's about progress. Habits make progress automatic. 2 seconds at a time, you build a culture that compounds into excellence. Remember, culture eats strategy for breakfast. If you want Lean to stick, don't chase big wins. Chase small, consistent improvements. Now here's your challenge. What's one 2-second improvement you can make today? Write it down. Share it with your neighbor. That's how Lean starts, one habit at a time. Thanks for watching. That concludes Lesson 9. All you need to do now is pass the quiz to get certified. Have a great day,